This is WPTV, priced out of paradise.
It's a reality that's difficult to escape. Housing prices are skyrocketing. Whether you're trying to rent an apartment or buy a house, and then there's the rising cost of insurance and overall shortages of affordable housing. It's devastating families, which in some cases are forcing them out of their homes. And the American dream of owning a home is perhaps more elusive than ever. WPTV is committed to bringing you coverage of exploring this crisis and the solutions that come with it. We'll start with one woman's desperate struggle as she's staying on a friend's couch, unable to find low-income housing as she is priced out of paradise.
I'm Ryan Hughes. Skyrocketing rents in Florida are some of the highest in the entire country. The increase is forcing many families out of their homes, and they're left with little to no options. Packing pots and pans and filling boxes with years of memories.
Thought I was settled for the rest of my life and saying just enjoy the last years.
But at 79 years old, Tom Palumba has no choice and has to start all over.
What am I going to do? End up in my car? You know, at 80? I don't know. It's sad. Yeah.
Tom doesn't know what the next few months will look like. He survives off a small disability check and has been living month to month in this studio apartment in Port St. Lucie for the past 3 years.
It's the first time in my life this ever happened.
But Tom was forced to move last week after he says his rent went up 3 times in the past year.
This unit, this size unit right here in this complex, they're going from 12 to 1,300 now for these little units.
Florida, Arizona, and Tennessee are the states that are experiencing the largest rent increases. Apartment Finder websites Zumper and ApartmentListings.com say rents went up last year 42% in Port St. Lucie, where Tom lives, and 38% in West Palm Beach, 37% in Boca Raton, and Vero Beach went up a whopping 52%.
Everything that was, a 3-bedroom apartment that was $2,000 last year is now $4,000, $5,000. So it's just, there's nowhere to go.
Jamie Wolf is a single mom raising her 3 kids in this apartment in West Boca Raton.
We can do a little rolly thing there.
Her lease is coming up for renewal.
The options are not pleasant, really.
And Jamie says her rent is about to be increased by about 50%, a huge financial struggle for her young family.
I think it's not just out of control, but egregious. I mean, it's just like people don't matter. Families don't matter.
The situation is so dire, some people have no other option but living inside of their car. Others are couch surfing, and now some lawmakers are urging the governor to act.
Well, right now in Florida, we're in a state of housing affordability crisis.
Florida Representative Carlos Guillermo Smith says it's been decades in the making with a severe shortage of affordable housing. In December, he sent a joint letter to Governor Ron DeSantis demanding he declare a state of emergency on housing affordability.
A lot of people don't realize that the state statute that protects consumers from price gouging can be enacted during a declared state of emergency.
DeSantis responded during a press conference blaming the Biden administration, saying things are more expensive because of his policies. For Tom, the stress of finding a new home is taking a toll on his health as he dials every day desperately looking for any help, any lifeline.
I'm still hoping that something positive will happen.
Ryan Hughes, WPTV, News Channel 5.
I'm Michelle Casada. If at first you don't succeed, try again. A South Florida man shares his failures and triumphs competing to buy a brand new home in today's housing market. Is this the American dream for you?
Yes, it is.
Owning a brand new home has always been Terrence Diaz's dream, but in today's market,
It's all about your will. How bad do you want it?
you have to want it bad.
Definitely way more challenging than it's ever been with new construction.
Realtor Karen Moody said she doesn't always jump at new construction. The competition is nothing like she's seen before.
Some of these buyers are having to put in offers at these sales centers and they don't know what they're against.
Bidding wars are a new part of the insatiable demand for new homes.
There is no shortage of buyers.
At Minto Communities in western Palm Beach County, developers are building a city within a city.
Even with a master plan to build 4,500 homes in the next 10 years or so, there are more buyers than lots available.
We are limiting the amount of home sites that we release at a time just to control what's going on in the market.
With supply chain issues and worker shortages, VP of Sales Tanya Abrahamson says it's all new territory for builders who must order materials 6 months in advance instead of 60 days. So what are buyers having to do if they want that new home?
Me, I'm always reaching for the stars.
Terrence and his wife live in Broward County and have their hearts set on a brand new home for their growing family in Westlake.
They have a resort living style water park. Let's start with that, right? For the family, I'm more excited because I'm back in my hometown, Palm Beach County.
It wasn't going to be easy.
We slept in the back of her SUV, and it was all night, all morning.
Terrence and Veronica learned the system at Sky Cove Homes in Westlake. A few lots released every couple of weeks, but only to those willing to be the first in line.
You think, like, how many times am I going to have to do this?
2 times the Diaz's waited outside the sales center, but were too late. The 3rd time, Terrence arrived 20 hours before lot release time.
When you got there, you took your picture, you signed in. The tough part is you couldn't leave. You had to stay.
Terrence and Veronica secured one of only 3 lots released, and it's going to cost more.
Don't go by the signs you're seeing on the side of the road.
The market's challenges and demand are driving up the cost for new builds.
If you keep waiting, prolonging it, it's only going to go up.
And while demand is not slowing down,
A story that we have to tell behind this home.
the Diaz's are finally in the home stretch.
It may be our Happy New Year, present. So at the latest, January of next year, we should be moving in. And it's brand new from the ground. Yes, American dream.
Realtors say if you have your heart set on a brand new home, there's a couple things that can help put you above the competition. 1, make sure you're pre-approved for the loan before you start looking. 2, hire a realtor that can help you when dealing with sales centers and the building process. And 3, if you really like one certain developer but your location is flexible, look around and see where else they're building properties. Michelle Quesada, WPTV, News Channel 5.
Buying a home, it seems, has never been tougher in Florida, especially when buyers are up against a pile of cash or something relatively new in the last decade, a faceless investment firm.
All the way around till November, so think of from March till November of looking at houses and no.
All Larry Scott was looking for was a starter home for his growing family, and 10 times he tried, and he kept losing out.
After the first one, we found out it was conventional and cash. And then people say, oh, well, they can close quicker, or hey, I'm sorry, they paid in cash. And that was the biggest thing.
In a wild real estate market, cash is king. And these days, there are more buyers with ready cash. The trade association, Florida Realtors, says last year, over 40% of home sales in Palm Beach County were for cash, an increase of nearly 30%.
But the demand is actually growing.
Jeff Lichtenstein is the founder of Ecofine Properties in Palm Beach Gardens.
There's a lot of people who have cash on there. There's been a lot of money that's been printed, so people are flush with cash. But then you're running into hedge funds and other institutions that are in the market as well.
Investment firms and hedge funds are buying up homes, and it made headlines last year when the Wall Street Journal reported an investment firm bought an entire community of homes in Texas. Sunny markets like South Florida are prime pickings for the firms. Online real estate brokerage Redfin studied the hottest real estate markets and found in the 3rd quarter of last year, investors bought 18% of the homes, with 3 out of 4 of single-family houses. And in West Palm Beach's market, the number was 15%, an 8% hike from a year ago.
It's all about inventory shortages.
Karan Kaul is with the D.C. think tank Urban Institute and says home buying by firms started in 2011 and has continued since.
They want to buy homes at the best price they possibly can. They want to fix them up as efficiently as they possibly can, and they want to put them out on the market for renting as soon as they can.
But Karan insists institution home buying is not squeezing out buyers and inflating prices as much as the housing shortage is. Larry Scott, though, came up with a new strategy to compete with cash buyers and institutions by getting pre-approved.
I would look into trying to get underwriting first, because that thing, literally, once we did that, the first home we looked at, done.
Larry eventually did find his new home in St. Lucie County, an area many Floridians are now discovering now that cash buyers and investment firms have their eyes on Palm Beach County. But the American dream of owning a home, it seems, has never been harder to achieve. In West Palm Beach, Matt Cesny, WPTV, News Channel 5.
No getting around it. If you have a mortgage on a home, you have to have insurance. The prices can be jaw-dropping. The reason the rates are rising in some cases by double digits, that's costing you more every month.
WPTV, Priced Out of Paradise. We'll be right back. You're watching WPTV, Priced Out of Paradise.
In a post-Surfside world, the cost of living and living safely in a condominium has never been more in focus. I've been looking into that as part of our Priced Out of Paradise series of special reports. Buyer beware. An important rule of thumb in this new landscape as condominiums and other multifamily complexes make repairs either voluntarily or under state mandates. The picture of South Florida condo living is tantalizing. And the images of the worst that can happen if structural problems go ignored are traumatizing.
I don't want our building to end up like Surfside.
Every condominium owner talks about it. Steve Rogers must.
We were always a proactive community.
Rogers is the condominium board president for Chalfant Towers in Boca Raton. Twin high-rises, 378 owners.
Our concrete engineer had told us that we had needed to do a concrete restoration project.
Built in the 1970s, salt air and ocean winds have eroded the southeast-facing balconies at Chalfant over the years.
The balconies are what we're working on right now because of the rebar and concrete spalling is where the concrete starts to fall off the building. We knew that it had to be dealt with.
The cost of the work around $2 million. That comes to a $5,300 assessment for every condo owner here. Harry Waldman sits on the condo board.
This is all part of the deal, and I'm glad that they are doing it.
The average cost of a Chalfant condominium, $1 million. Start adding in all those constant repair costs, and the grumbling begins for some.
Until I got involved in this 2 years ago, if you told me the amount of politics involved, I would have never imagined what goes on here.
Roger says the Chalfant Condo Board is pushing ahead with its own voluntary safety inspection schedule. There are also the new state mandates. They include fire safety improvements, likely to mean another $2 million bill split between owners here. Tom Madden accepts the down-to-earth financial reality of high-rise living.
You want an active board, not an inactive board, because that's dangerous. If a board is inactive and just wants to placate residents and be heroes because they're not spending money, that's dangerous.
In short, whether it's the Chalfant Towers or any of the condominiums that dot our coastline, owning a piece of oceanside paradise means being prepared to pay for that paradise. And that means making sure one reads the fine print.
My best advice is to do your due diligence up front.
Paul Krasker of Krasker Law says hire a real estate attorney and read the fine print before signing that condominium contract.
Understand what's happening.
Post-Surfside, Florida lawmakers are talking about a bill to require a structural inspection program for all multifamily buildings. But getting owners to pay for repairs that are identified remains a big debate. All the more reason to know what you are buying.
The first is to say to the seller, I want to get the last 12 months minutes of the board meetings. I want to see what those board members are talking about.
Be prepared to pay or walk away before buying if you can't afford ongoing assessments and fees.
So you have a right to walk away if you find out that the association has been talking about redoing the roof, redoing the electric, redoing the elevator shafts, redoing all the exterior balconies.
You're buying a lifestyle, these three Chalfant Towers owners remind us, but the deposit is only a down payment, and carefree will never mean cost-free.
You think that's the end of expenses. You're never going to have to fix another roof. Your upkeep is not going to be there, but that's very foolish.
Michael Williams, WPTV News Channel 5.
The housing crisis has hit renters, buyers, and sellers. But what about owners?
They too have not escaped this crisis in South Florida, as 2022 is just getting started. There's one thing that's not changing at all: the rising price of insurance premiums. It's hard to imagine, as Florida hasn't been hit by a major hurricane since Michael in 2018, but the rise is dramatic. The average yearly cost to keep a property insurance policy active here in Florida, nearly double that of the rest of the country. And as you're about to see, it doesn't look like there's a quick fix. To call it sticker shock would be an understatement.
I don't care if I hit the lotto. It would not be happening.
From her Royal Palm Beach home, Lori Lanny is searching for a new homeowner's insurance company.
I haven't called all of them, but I have called probably at least half.
Lanny says her premium quote from Citizens Insurance jumped from $1,700 a year to $3,400. She's having trouble finding anything cheaper, and she's not alone. Just look at this. The Insurance Information Institute says statewide premiums are up nearly 25% this year. The reason? Well, take your pick.
Rampant roofing fraud, runaway litigation, and rising replacement costs of homes.
Let's talk about that roofing fraud. It may be hurting Lanny's chances at a better rate. A few years ago, roofers approached Lanny here at her Royal Palm Beach home with an offer to fix her roof. She signed an assignment of benefits, which gives control of that company to take control of the entire claims process with the insurance company. Only problem is some of these companies inflate the prices and then go to court with the insurance companies and settle on a reasonable price. All that money the insurance companies shell out for legal fees gets passed on to you in rising premiums. And look at how much of a hit insurance companies are taking. Just last year, Florida's insurance companies had $1.6 billion in underwriting losses. When that trickles down to you, it's easy to understand Lanny's frustration.
They're passing it on to the customer, which, you know, we've never made a claim. We've never done anything to deserve what's happening. So, you know, we're kind of upset about that.
Make no mistake, there's much more than just roofing fraud causing this problem in 2022. Supply chain disruptions. Sound familiar? Lack of building materials, especially lumber, make prices go up. In turn, it costs more for insurance companies to pay to rebuild homes after a filed claim. Lawmakers are trying to find a solution, filing bills to open up more companies for you to choose from. If you're looking for an end to this premium crunch, Mark Friedlander from the Insurance Information Institute paints the bleak picture.
We will continue to see rising insurance costs, at least for the next year or two, regardless of what happens in the legislature. It will not be an immediate fix,
leaving homeowners in flux while paying much more. There is a little bit of hope here if you can afford it. Here are 3 steps Friedlander says you can take to lower your premiums. Take wind mitigation steps in your home, bundle your insurance coverages, and raise your deductibles. For WPTV News Channel 5, I'm Mike Trim. We count on them to keep us safe, to educate our children, and to care for us when we're sick. But they can't count on access to affordable housing. Next, what's happening now to help essential workers find a place to live, and how a lack of housing for them could impact you.
WPTV, Priced Out of Paradise. We'll be right back. We're watching WPTV, Priced Out of Paradise.
I'm Michelle Casada. As rent prices continue to increase, people living in Palm Beach County are having to navigate around a tight budget in order to continue living, working, and playing in the same area.
It's a 15-minute drive from home to work for Gervonta Edmonds, and he wants to keep it that way.
And it's important that I live in this community because I serve this community.
He's the founder of Suits for Seniors, a nonprofit group that mentors at-risk high school students.
For the first time in a long time, I really felt powerless.
Just like many coming up on their lease renewals, he says rent for his one-bedroom apartment in West Palm Beach shot up $300 to $400.
I look everywhere, so from Delray all the way to Palm Beach Gardens.
Numbers from the online rental website Zumper show, compared to last year, rent is up nearly 30% in West Palm Beach, 40% in Delray Beach, and 52% in Palm Beach Gardens. From where he stands,
okay, I'm gonna need 2 small salads.
John Reese, the owner of Hot Pie Pizza,
That's the main problem, is housing.
is seeing a different impact the housing market is having on the workforce.
You know, unfortunately, the impact is you're going to lose the middle class.
At his downtown West Palm Beach restaurant, he's the cook, washer, waiter, and on most days, the delivery guy.
We're competing for human resource.
Between his 2 pizza shops, he's down 10 employees. Reese says competition from food delivery apps,
Availability of the next job is right around the corner.
is making a fixed schedule look less appealing to the workforce. Top that with rising rental costs.
Then with the price of gas and inflation, and even though we give them a higher salary, it's eaten alive with all the increases.
State data showing average salaries in West Palm Beach coupled with the current cost to rent a one-bedroom reveal registered nurses are spending 27% of their annual salary on renting. Elementary school teachers are spending 36%, and the average waiter or waitress without roommates will spend 75% of their income on rent.
It's unreasonable to put that kind of burden on the workforce.
An urban planner,
When you study what other cities have gone through and experienced, we're now experiencing it in West Palm Beach.
Rafael Clemente, the executive director of the Downtown Development Authority, says 30% of county jobs are located downtown, but rising rents could push out the local workforce.
The workforce is what makes a place happen. It's what makes the economy work. And yes, we have to do what we can do to make sure that the workforce can be in reasonable proximity to the concentration of jobs.
And without shattering the dream to own, which these days may seem further and further out of reach.
I think that's the American dream that somehow turned into the American nightmare.
I'm Tori Dunnan. Florida's eviction moratorium is over, but some landlords are still feeling the effects from it. It was intended to protect tenants from homelessness during the pandemic, but some landlords say that now means they'll never rent again. Others tell us they will have to raise rents to compensate for the lost income. Here's more on the ripple effect of the moratorium.
My hands were literally tied.
Jennifer Fearman lives in California now, but rents out her old place in South Florida.
It just made sense to keep the property because it was easy, right? Like he was paying rent and it was great. When COVID hit, the rent payments started getting kind of spotty.
She was frustrated by the lack of recourse when her tenant stopped paying rent.
I found it to be mind-blowing that there was literally nothing that I could do. And that's my takeaway from the whole experience.
As soon as the moratorium was lifted, Fearman says she was able to move forward with an eviction.
I didn't go into this saying I'm going to invest in real estate and be a big bad landlord. It's like I own a piece of property and I need to pay for it. And yeah, it was a stretch for me because I was still on the hook to pay my mortgage even though my tenant wasn't paying their rent.
A Boca homeowner says he can only describe being a landlord during the pandemic using one word: terrible. He says he's out nearly $30,000 because of the moratorium.
We got burnt.
Ron Frontero says he lost nearly $30,000 in rent, plus about $30,000 more in damages.
It was rough because they took away the right to evict. There was nothing we could do. We had no leverage.
He says he's lucky he didn't have a mortgage, but will not recoup the money lost.
I always paid my bills, and I expected people to pay their bills. And when you're giving somebody a free pass and they don't have to pay bills, I don't think that's fair.
Tayson Gaines is a real estate attorney. He practices real estate litigation, including landlord-tenant disputes.
Overall, I think we've had a decent amount of sympathy and understanding for the tenants and not wanting to throw them out. But I think there is some lost light on the owners.
He says much of the financial assistance for renters is also gone, making the situation even harder for landlords.
I'm starting to see that the rubber's starting to hit the road.
Property values have gone up and costs are being passed down to renters who are being priced out of housing. But landlords rely on that rental income to, for instance, pay for their child's college tuition.
A lot of landlords are, feeling it because there's not really much empathy out there. The humanitarian side, as far as the landlords, is lost.
Jennifer says she'll up the rent now to market value.
Up until this incident with my current tenant, I had not raised rent and I hadn't planned on raising the rent, though I do have trepidation about letting someone else live in the apartment.
And in Ron's case, it's game over when it comes to being a landlord.
I'm not in the rental game anymore.
Tori Dunnan, WPTV News Channel 5.
We wanted to capture the emotion and the reality of evictions. We spent time with a mother here in West Palm Beach who was evicted and living out of her car. We also spent time with some deputies in St. Lucie County who have that tough job of serving those court orders. And as you're about to see, evictions happen for all types of reasons.
Sheriff's office, the press,
Really?
Stress.
Clear.
Angry. Confused. Trauma.
6804 Avenue, Unit A, for an eviction. Evictions recently has been due to increases in the rent, and they can't afford it. Hey, good morning. You here to take possession of the residence?
2 minimum to 5.
We did 5 in one day.
People trying to figure out what they were going to do and where they were going to go.
It has been a nightmare when you and your kids living in a vehicle. You're not getting any sleep because you're trying to make sure your kids are comfortable.
A lot of children's toys, young kids' toys.
The children are often involved in the evictions too. It's one of those things we have to come out here. We're trying to make it. It's a horrible situation all the way around.
Sometimes I go home and talk to my wife about them. You wonder what the kids are going through. I mean, all these toys, some of them they might have just gotten for Christmas, and now they're just thrown out on the curb. It's harder.
They appear to be gone. Have you communicated with them?
We communicated with them 2 days ago.
Okay.
Because they've been a tenant for a long time, and she just wanted to say, like, hey, like, obviously we don't want our kids to see you getting kicked out by a sheriff.
Right, right.
I think they chose to leave, like, right before, so probably this morning.
All right. Hallway right, kitchen safety first and foremost.
There could be a trap in there.
Every situation's different. Every home's different.
There could be somebody hiding in there.
Every eviction's different.
You never know what you're stepping into when you're going in to clear the house.
I'm very exhausted. Very.
They're going through a hard time. And I'm the one up there saying, hey, come on, you got to get out. But you can't say it that way.
It's always nerve-wracking searching a house. I mean, it's not personal, but, you know, it's the job. We got an order. We got a court order that we have to follow.
They've formally been evicted. You got the property owners losing money, and you have your people that are living here that are losing their house over their heads.
I can't keep living like this. I'm not saying that I'm going to do anything to myself or my kids, but I just can't keep doing this.
34% of people recently surveyed by the Census Bureau here in Florida said eviction or foreclosure is either very likely or somewhat likely. If you need assistance, we put some links on our website at WPTV.com. In West Palm Beach, Michael Butchner, WPTV News Channel 5.
The American dream once included owning a home. Now it's more like a nightmare. The vanishing dream for a new generation. Next.
WPTV, Priced Out of Paradise. We'll be right back. We're watching WPTV, Priced Out of Paradise.
Take one glance down the skyline in West Palm Beach. Palm trees, beaches, and a hot real estate market dot the landscape. Palm Beach County virtually sells itself and has quickly caught the attention of buyers around the country.
It is scary. It is really scary when we look at these prices.
Rebecca Lucatero and her husband Eric, both in their mid-20s, saw their dream of owning a home and went after it.
The closer you get to where everyone's at, the higher it is.
Then came reality. Home after home, offer after offer.
It's just infuriating because I don't know how we're supposed to move on and create the life that we want with the circumstances that are currently going on.
Both are millennials who are part of a growing trend in Palm Beach County real estate.
That is the dream. You want your white picket fence, and your kids, and your stable job.
They're getting priced out and pushed out. Data from research group FilterBuy shows only 9.1% of homeowners in West Palm Beach are under 35, well below the national average.
So if you're a millennial getting a mortgage right now, it's really challenging because A, we're in the hottest market of our generation has ever seen here, and B, you're up against cash buyers.
Realtor Holly Meyer-Lucas walked us through the agonizing process for this generation and the frenzy when a house like this one in Tequesta comes on the market.
So how hard is it right now
for those under 30 to really tap into this market?
Yeah, it's really hard. So this one, we have 14 offers on it already, and of those, 12 are snowbirds with cash.
In fact, she says 6 months ago, there would have been 40 offers. A sign that buyer fatigue could be setting in, which works to a millennial's advantage. The amount of time a house sits on the market is another sign. Holly says don't give up. A lot of factors contribute to its length of stay on the MLS.
If you're a millennial and you see a home that has been sitting for 10 days, don't assume that it's because it's overpriced or not a great house.
For the Lucateros, it's become so frustrating. Just watching market inventory is depressing.
If we try to envision that, we're just going to start making ourselves feel bad.
It's sad because I feel like at our age, we're not where we're supposed to be at all.
A young couple representing so many millennials with a goal to simply own a home for the first time in their lives. Yet realizing each day it's unrealistic when you're competing in one of the most aggressive markets in the country.
Everyone wants to be a dreamer, but at some point you have to let it go to live this American dream of pursuing what you want to do, but you have to sleep on someone's couch.
I'm Contact 5 investigator Dave Bowman. We've been looking at the crisis of affordable housing and how thousands say they're being priced out of paradise. What about the solutions? Well, our investigation found some, but we also found there is no quick fix.
This is only a year old.
Dawn Elder moved into her 3-bedroom apartment in Boynton Beach last March.
I love this place. I mean, I wish, that it wasn't going up so much.
The single mother of 2 planned to renew her lease until she opened a letter from her landlord.
You may sign a 12-month lease renewal at a rate of $3,900.
And what do you pay now?
I pay $27.90.
So when you saw this,
I was flabbergasted. I was like, wait, that's $1,100 increase.
Dawn makes a good living as a massage therapist. She never thought so much of her income might have to go towards rent.
And it's really not affordable for the middle class anymore.
I don't see it stopping because of those who are coming. We're the Wall Street of the South.
Mike Pappas has sold real estate in South Florida for a half-century. And he says several factors are causing housing prices to soar. Among them, financial service firms relocating workers from the Northeast who are able to buy more expensive homes, a glut of wealthy baby boomers retiring here, and a lack of land to develop in South Florida.
There's Everglades on one side and the ocean on the other side, and there's 6.5 million people that live here today. So the question I would ask everybody, are people still coming? And if they're going to still come, then we're probably going to have a problem.
How is government allowing this to happen?
State Representative Carlos Guillermo Smith says Governor Ron DeSantis can act to help renters avoid the spikes in rent.
He would be able to, once he declares a state of emergency, enact statutory consumer protections against price gouging.
But the Attorney General's office says the current spikes in real estate and rent do not constitute price gouging. And bills in the state capitol designed to cap rental price increases are unlikely to pass. Instead, state lawmakers are considering measures to offer tax breaks for developers who build affordable homes and to the banks that finance this activity. Some want the Sadowski Act of 1992 to be a stronger hedge against rising real estate costs.
under that act, a small amount of money from every home sale in Florida went to an affordable housing fund. And over the past 3 decades, that raised more than $4 billion. That money was supposed to land in local communities for affordable housing. But critics say state lawmakers began sweeping that money towards other items in the state budget.
We can't look to Tallahassee for a solution.
Jack Weir chairs the Housing Leadership Council of Palm Beach County. Next month, that group plans to introduce its $200 million bond proposal to county commissioners. Contact 5 has obtained a copy. The plan hopes to create 20,000 affordable homes over the next 10 years.
That will make a major dent in this problem.
The bond money would pay for a fraction of the monthly mortgage or rent for families making between $50,000 and $100,000 a year. That could be enough to help some with the down payments or mortgages on a home, or keep other families in their existing apartments despite rising rents.
You don't ever fully solve the issue, but what you try and do is mitigate its impacts and move it from a crisis mode to more of a perennial problem.
It's now a problem for Dawn Elder, who's now looking for a new place to live.
So I left Boca Raton initially to move to Boynton because it was more affordable to me. Now It's not affordable.
And she wonders if any solutions can arrive before thousands more are priced out. In Boynton Beach, Dave Bowman, WPTV News Channel 5.
Priced Out of Paradise continues next.
We're watching WPTV Priced Out of Paradise.
Shelter, it's as basic of a need for you and me as food, water, and air. Yet it has perhaps never been so out of reach in our lifetime. And what's clear, there is no simple fix, but there is help. Scan this QR code on your screen and you'll find a list of resources as well as a link to more information on the topics you've heard about, from skyrocketing rent and housing prices to increases to your insurance costs, a shortage of affordable housing, and perhaps more importantly and most importantly, what's being done to help. I'm Jay Cashmere. Thanks for watching Priced Out of Paradise.